All right, well, more than 5 million people have watched a TED Talk about how we should treat emotional pain with as much care as our physical hurts. And the man behind that talk, author Guy Winch, and he's written a new book, How to Fix a Broken Heart. And you're saying that TED actually wanted you to focus on one key point from that first TED Talk and then expand to a whole book in another talk?
They wanted me to focus on the fact that there are all kinds of emotional wounds that we sustain in daily life, that there's science that we could use to heal quicker with, and heartbreak is one of them. And I didn't cover that in my first talk, and they said you should really talk about heartbreak. It's so common, people don't know what to do.
And something I liked was that you said that when someone breaks their arm, they call out sick or they are at home. But then versus when you have a heartbreak, you're expected to go back to work. I found that interesting.
I think it's interesting as well. You know, when you have a toothache, it's really hard to concentrate. It's really hard to get your work done. Well, that usually lasts a few hours. Heartbreak can last for days and weeks, and we're expected to function at the highest level, and it's just very unrealistic.
So I know we have a whole book behind it, but what are some simple things we could do?
So the first thing we need to do is avoid mistakes. You know, our mind is going to tell us it's a great idea to spend a few hours stalking our ex on social media and going through all our pictures of them and doing all these things that are just going to make everything more painful. So we need to know what to avoid. And the other thing we really need to know is that when we break up with someone, when we have a loss, there are a lot of voids in our life that we have to focus on and fill, but that means figuring out what they are.
Okay, and then also you were mentioning romantic heartbreak, but then also losing, say, a family pet. And so would you say those are interchangeable, or what's different in both that to help kind of get over it and move on?
What's similar to me in both is that those are both forms of grief that can be as difficult for people as losing a first-degree relative, yet they're not sanctioned. No one's going into work saying, I need the day off because my cat died. And no one's going into work saying, my girlfriend dumped me, I need a few days. But really, the experience we have when we go through these things can be similar to losing a first-degree relative, so we have to take them more seriously.
So what are some examples in your book that you can talk about of how people took certain steps to move past the breakup or the heartbreak?
So, for example, you have to, as I said, fill some voids. And so I gave an example in the book of a woman who used to use her cat when she was training for triathlon on her stationary bike. And when the cat died, she stopped training, which means she lost a huge part of who she was and what she did and the social company she kept and the things, you know. And that's a void you have to fill. You can't just leave that. And so really identify how your life has changed. Your ex made all the social engagements. Somebody's got to do that now.
And well, what can we expect tonight at the library? I know you're going to be talking about your book. What are some of the highlights you'll be saying?
Well, to me, the highlight are always the Q&A, because people get to ask questions about their own lives and questions they want the answers to, so that we're leaving a nice amount of time for questions. But for me, the idea of it, talking to people about this is what you need to understand about human emotions. You can't be on autopilot. You have to take control of what's going on when you're injured and navigate your recovery yourself, not just let time and your instincts take you through it. You'll get it wrong.
Okay, well, Guy Winch, thank you so much for joining us. And his talk will be at 7 o'clock tonight at the main library on York Street. The event is free, but go ahead and sign up at lfpl.org or call at 574-1644.